Google Ads can be a game changer for your auto shop, but I know it's easy to feel overwhelmed. We have keywords, budgets, bidding, segmenting ad groups between your different services. Where do you even start? Well, that's exactly where I come in. I have spent years helping businesses turn Google Ads into a customer generating machine, and today I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that with your auto shop. So let's get into it. All right, so starting from the very beginning, once you get into your Google Ads dashboard, it's going to look something like this. So first things first, you're going to want to go ahead and go to create, and then you're going to want to go to campaign. So this is the most important foundational piece of getting set up on Google Ads is what kind of campaign do I run and how do you set it up correctly? So for auto shops, I 1,000,000% recommend that you only stick to a search campaign. So like I mentioned, getting your campaign down is extremely important, and you want to target bottom of funnel. So you want to only target customers who are looking to bring in their car for an oil change or any other auto related service. You don't want to be spending money reminding people, hey, whenever your oil changes up or whenever your car makes noise in the future, come to us, right? I'm just going to guess that if you're a local auto shop, you're probably not going to be spending more than $3,000 a month. And $3,000 in the month, I would suggest, is probably being on the higher end. You really want to get as much out of your money as you can. So what you're going to want to do too in a brand new Google Ads account is you want to start with website traffic. And I know what you're thinking, but Johnny, we want leads. Of course you want leads. I understand. But it's important to select website traffic at first because right now you cannot optimize for leads because Google Ads does not know the demographics or any other characteristics about people who typically become leads for your business. So it's important to start with website traffic while you generate data so then you can teach Google Ads, hey, these are people who convert. So website traffic. All right, now it's going to ask you what your conversion goals are. So if you don't have conversion tracking set up, unfortunately, that is a topic for another video because that's a very elaborate setup with Google Analytics, your website, and Google Tag Manager. But assuming you already have it set up, depending if you're going for lead forms or call from ads or all three, make sure you have all those in here. For auto shop, I highly suggest that you guys do click to calls on the website and call from ads. I've done submit lead forms for auto shops in the past, and they are good, but they're typically done by people who are looking late at night or when the shop is closed, and typically when they call them back, they end up finding a different solution or they just don't care enough. So if someone calls when they're not open and you can call them back the next day, that typically seems to convert a lot better than someone just throwing around lead forms. But I will leave that up for you to test. So again, click continue once you have your conversion goals in here. You're going to go down and remember what we talked about. You're going to want to start with the search campaign, only targeting people who are directly looking to take action right away. So search campaign. All right, so now it's going to ask you to put your website in here. So go ahead and put your website. I'm just going to go ahead and put my website, of course, because I don't own an auto shop. Campaign name. You want to make sure that you make this really specific, especially as you start to scale and you branch out more campaigns and whatnot. You really want to stay organized. So let's say at the start that we're doing a catch auto shop search campaign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all services. And then depending on what type of neighborhood or area, you're targeting, I would just go ahead and, so for me, I'm going to put Scottsdale. And then we're going to go for web traffic. So right now, when we go to look at any campaign, especially again, if we make more, it's going to be really easy to see, okay, this is our search campaign. Okay, this is our catch all, meaning we're going to have different ad groups that have different services. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Make sure the area, okay, so this is Scottsdale, not Phoenix. This is just a Scottsdale spot. And then right now we're optimizing for web traffic. So at a quick look, this encompasses every piece of information that you need to know what kind of campaign this is. So let's go ahead and go to next. Okay, right here, another important piece, which you're going to want to focus on is going to be clicks for now. Again, I kind of already talked a little bit about why we're not going to go for conversions at the start, but going for conversions in the future is something that we will change. So just bear with me and trust me by clicking clicks. You're not going to want to set a maximum cost per click. Don't need to worry about anything like that yet. Something, again, we'll talk about in the future, but you don't want to jump the gun when you haven't even ran any ads yet because you have no idea what your cost per click is going to be yet. Bid for new customers only. No, I never ever suggest you put that on. Go ahead and click next. Here, my opinion, I always turn both of these off because if you're going to include the Google search partners or the display network, especially, then you may as well do a Performance Max campaign, which is going to leverage different placements such as Gmail, Discover, YouTube, and it's going to show images and videos on like the sides and in the top banners of other websites. You absolutely do not want to do that. Again, you may as well run a Performance Max campaign, and that's not what we want to do here. And in my experience, you also don't want to add the search partners because we don't have any desire for those. We want to target people who are on Google, not on these random websites that Google's partnered with. So I would go ahead and uncheck both of these. I've never seen great results come from these, and I have ran dozens and dozens and dozens of Google ad accounts. All right, so the next thing here, if we go down to locations, a big piece here, go ahead and bring this drop down, and you want to click presence, okay? We don't want to be targeting people who are shown interest in our location, but we want to choose people who are actually in our location. So make sure you click presence. And then of course, since you're not an e-commerce company, you're not going to be doing oil changes all around the United States. And if you are a franchise company and you have locations in every state, please do not have one campaign for all of your locations. So for you guys, go ahead and click enter another location, go to advanced search. This is just going to help you bring up a map. So I'm just going to demonstrate if I was doing one in Scottsdale, Arizona. Okay, so I'm going to click include. But as you see, if I go to Scottsdale, let's say we have the auto shop right here. Now, if I zoom out all the way up here at Cave Creek, that's a really, really far ways away. So yes, we do want Scottsdale, but if our shop is here, we don't want, that's really far away. I'm sure there are other auto shops in the area. Of course, you could go on maps and look for these folks, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now that if I'm advertising right in here, we don't need all this extra space. And we might want an area like here, or like here, around here, right? So when you're choosing your location, I don't recommend just putting in the city. Obviously, this depends on what your map looks like and where your actual shop is. But what I'm going to actually go ahead and do is I'm just going to go ahead and click out of this. I'm going to choose show all areas. And then what I'm going to do here is I kind of forgot where we put the imaginary shop, but let's say right around here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on these little areas that pull up these little spots. And I am just going to go ahead and fill in all these according to our liking. So then, okay, oh, maybe this is a little too far, remove that. Okay, maybe we want some guys in here, include this, right? So I'm going to kind of let you do that as you will. Obviously, this wasn't the greatest job right here, but that's okay because this is not what this was for, but just to kind of show you, right? So when you're doing a local service, I highly recommend that you choose your location this way. And then also I want to make sure, so for instance, I'm in Arizona, right? Which is really close to Mexico. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we put Mexico as an exclusion. I always like to put other countries as an exclusion, some of the big ones, especially ones that might lead to some spam or, people using VPNs trying to hack or trying to just give you spam. So I like to do Pakistan, exclude. I like to also exclude India, of course. So just to make sure you're not getting any spam, I like to remove some neighboring countries and then some selective foreign countries. But again, so this is the most important when you're doing a local service location-based targeting. So just keep this in mind when you're choosing, and then choose according to where your shop is and the areas that around you convert. So another little piece of this is I'm not going to choose all of Phoenix. That would be terrible because I don't want to be advertising to people who are over here because they're going to be wasting our money. Because right when they click on the directions and they go, oh, their shop is 11 miles away. Why would we ever go there, right? So especially if you have a smaller budget and you're just starting, I really recommend that you honestly choose the most selective area around you. So the nearest neighborhood radius. Try not to cast a super wide net at first because you want to start seeing results as soon as you can. Once you want to scale, and there are a million options of what you can do once you want to scale, but then I recommend, expanding your location targeting. So for now, stay close to the shop. And just for example, I'm just going to click save here. So as we scroll down, we see, okay, English is set up fine. Broad match keywords are turned off. Automatically create assets. I turn this off. I see this on for a lot of people, and I do not want Google deciding what page of my website we should be sending people to or changing any of my ad headlines. I know we're talking about auto shops, but especially in other businesses, you can actually get in some trouble if you start advertising and using the wrong words or giving away, offers that don't exist. So I always like to have full control over my ads. So I'm going to click no on this. More settings, not something you really have to worry about. For ad schedule, I do like to do all day, but you can choose when your shop is open. But depending on your hours, like let's say that your shop closes at 5 p.m. Most people who are working a traditional 9-to-5 job, they're going to need their car serviced after 5 p.m. So depending on how much you want to limit yourself, maybe give yourself a couple hours of a buffer. With my auto shop clients, we've done different variations of this to see what works for us the best. So use this according to when you actually want to be, getting calls, getting leads, depending on your shop's availability and how you want to spend your money. So for ad rotation, you always want to be optimizing and using the best performing ads at all times. None of this you really have to worry about. If you want to, you can exclude your own brand. So basically what that means is if someone looks up your exact auto shop, that your Google ads won't come up. So you're not just wasting extra money on people who are likely already going to convert to you anyways. But if you're in a really high populous area with tons of competitors, then it might not be something too bad to keep on. Of course, you can always monitor this and see, how often people are actually typing in your business name, which would be like a brand keyword, and converting to see how much money you're actually wasting and depending on the cost per click, etc. But if you're really worried about it, you can set this exclusion right here. This will go to the brand exclusions. So I also just set it as a negative keyword. I also will literally just make my client's auto shop name an exact match negative keyword. So not something you have to worry about right now, but that's just some information. All right, so here what this is going to do is Google Ads AI is going to say, hey, here's what we think you should do. Here's all this stuff, okay? Obviously, this is not for the auto shop. This is for my company, my website, because that's what we gave it. But I like to go ahead and skip this almost all the time. So now that we're past the initial campaign setup, we're kind of going down the layers, right? We have campaign, we have ad group, and then we have ads, okay? So now we're getting into the ad groups. So this is where things can get really tricky, and you have to make sure that you're doing this right, because if your ad group and campaign and foundational structure is all messed up in Google Ads, no matter how many videos you watch or no matter how many things you do, you're going to be missing out on a lot of conversions. And that might actually be the difference between you having a profitable Google Ad account and you having a Google Ad account that fails. So you have to make sure that you set this up correctly. And so here's my best advice when it comes to ad groups, okay? Especially if this is your first campaign, your auto shop, and especially if you don't have a ton of budget, I would recommend that you make this campaign kind of how we said at the very start. If you remember, we put this was a search campaign and this was a catch-all or an all services type of campaign, because you should have a ad group for each main service that you want to advertise, and then use the data of what ad groups are being triggered and which ad groups are getting the most conversions. Then that's going to help you determine, okay, what ad groups do you want to branch out and what services do you want to branch out, or which services do we want to focus on more in the future? So as you're setting the foundation and as you're learning and getting data from Google, I highly recommend that you make an ad group for every service. So then you can almost let the market determine, okay, what are people actually clicking on? What's making people actually call? What service for us is doing the best online in terms of digital advertising? So let's just say that it's the summer in Arizona and you're like, hey, Johnny, we want to do brake services and we want to do AC and we want to do oil changes. Okay, fantastic. That means we're going to have 3 major ad groups for the most part. So let's go ahead and start with oil change. So I'm going to make this number 1 right here. The first ad group we're going to go through, I'm going to make it oil change. And then I'm going to put a little piece of information here. And I'll talk to you about this in a second, but I'm going to say P&E. And that actually stands for phrase and exact match, because these are the match types of keywords that we're going to be using. And I'll get to that in just a second. So right here, we see our keywords. Again, this is for my marketing agency, not an actual auto shop. So we're going to get rid of those. And now you might be thinking, okay, Johnny, how are we going to find the best keywords? So what I use, you can use the keyword planner inside Google Ads. There's tons of videos on how to use that. I honestly don't prefer to use it because it doesn't give you other keyword suggestions. All right. So if you look up oil change near me, it's going to tell you, okay, here are the stats on oil change near me. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the best keywords because we don't know. If we already knew what the best keywords were, then we would just put them in right here. But I like to get ideas. So I like to use something. It's on Mangools. It's called KW Finder. I don't know if there's a trial or anything. It's not that expensive, but of course I run a lot of Google Ads, so I use this. You can do whatever you like, but I'm just going to show you how I do it. So I have it in the Phoenix general area. Again, if you're just in a small neighborhood in a small city, you don't necessarily want to just, put that zip code in there because you're going to see like almost no search results because again, this is on a worldwide scale. So you might see a lot of keywords that have under 10 monthly searches. That's just not going to help you get any data. So open it up a little bit. So if you're just in a small city or a small area of Los Angeles, do Los Angeles. Okay, we're in a little nook of Scottsdale, so I'm just going to do Phoenix. Okay, so let's go ahead and just type in oil change near me. Let's see what we get. All right, so now when we look up something like oil change near me, we're like, okay, great, wow. There are tons of searches. So the top one, which is our exact keyword that we typed in, which means your seed keyword, as you can see right here, oil change near me has 49,000 monthly searches, and it's still an easy keyword. The average cost per click is a little over $4. Not bad at all. Tons of volume. Okay. Near me, oil change close to me, Jiffy Lube. Okay, that's a big one. So that must be, as we can see in terms of actual searches, that's the biggest local competitor. So, okay, let's take a look here. Just these little keywords, right? So this just kind of helps me. Okay, what are people actually looking for? So let's just go ahead and break this one down. So I'm going to make this campaign structure pretty simple. So typically when I'm running Google Ads, especially at a really high level, I like to make it super, super clear. So we would literally only have one ad group for like keywords like oil change near me. And then we would have a whole different ad group for oil change Scottsdale or Scottsdale oil change, just so then we can now leverage the fact that people looked up the actual physical location. So we can make sure that we're putting that in a lot more ad headlines, because our number one goal is to give people exactly what they were looking for, remove as much friction as possible, and increase the user experience level. All right, so then what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm just gonna look, okay, oil change near me. Got it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna make this an exact match keyword. Because the reason why we're gonna be using phrase and exact instead of something like a broad keyword is because if you did oil change near me as a broad keyword, any single search that has the word oil in it or oil change, your ads risk being shown. So any kind of DIYer, any kind of guy that's looking up shopping, you could even be looking up Walmart oil filter and your ads are going to come up, right? So there's just, when it comes down to broad, especially for local service, you can get a ton of DIYers, ton of cost guys, ton of guys who's doing research like, how do I know if my car needs an oil change? Then your ads will still come up. So we want to make sure that we're removing any type of audience of people that aren't actually ready looking to buy. So I'll show you in a little bit about negative keywords, but for these, I just really like to hone in on oil change near me. Also, there's no need to make this keyword a broad keyword if there's already 49,000 searches a month. Obviously, our shop is in a little spot in Scottsdale, but there's no need for us to be, all right, how can we get more, semi-related keywords when we already have a ton of searches, okay? So just kind of bringing it down. So I'm also going to go ahead and make this one a phrase match too. Because what a phrase match does is a phrase match uses this phrase, and if someone looked up oil change near me, Scottsdale, Arizona, then this is going to get triggered for the phrase match. So the reason why we're going to be doing a phrase match for this is because, so this term right here, oil change near me, almost sets like the foundation or the prefix or the suffix for a search term. So if someone looked up oil change near me, Scottsdale, this is still going to get triggered. So we know the direction because we put oil change near me, so it can't get too far off, but it's also going to help us come up for related searches. And then if we realize, okay, wow, people are actually typing in oil change near me, Scottsdale a lot more than just oil change near me. Now we have inspiration and can look like, okay, got it. So we need to add this as a keyword also. So I like to have the anchors, which are exact. And then I like to have a little bit of poll here where this is going to kind of help us learn and experiment and get data and be like, okay, got it. Here's inspiration for new keywords. Okay. So we have All Reliable, the anchor, and then we have the guys that are out there helping us do some testing. So I like to keep it a little bit varied, but again, for local service, you want to be really selective and hyper targeted because you don't want to be wasting any money, especially on industries like this where cost per clicks can get up there. Obviously this one's not as bad as we just kind of looked a little bit, but law firms or plumbing or insurance, those can all be really expensive just because due to the high ticket costs of some local services, the keywords can be really expensive. So we really want to narrow in there, but we want to use these guys as a foundation to help us find more good keywords. So I'm not going to get too far into this. You can use tools like the Keyword Planner or this keyword finder on Mangles and look at what you want to use. Honestly, just go for what has a lot of volume. You can do this however you'd like, but I've kind of already set the expectation for you. And then a lot of this is going to come down to, removing negative keywords, setting negative keywords. So we'll go to that in a little bit. So this is just the overall foundation. Scrolling down here. All right. So here it's going to ask you for the final URL. So basically when people actually click on the ad, where are they taken? So you want this to be a landing page and not just any page, but you want this to be an actual specific landing page that is tailored to this service. So if you're doing AC repair, brake services, and oil change, you really want to make sure that you have a landing page for each of those services. So here's one I just randomly found, right? Obviously, this is a large company. They're all over the place, but you see how they have a very specific page that is dedicated just to oil change. So one, that helps the user experience. Two, it's easy to navigate. So when people are looking for something, they're finding exactly what they need to find, which is super helpful. That's just going to help your conversion rate, and it's going to want Google to favor your ads more. And then another big piece of why this is so important is because when you're bringing people to this final URL, you can be selective with what wording you want to use. And when you do that, this is going to help your ad rank and your keyword quality score be increased because you want to stay as congruent as you can with your landing page copy and your Google Ads headline and description copy. Because basically, what that tells Google is, okay, so these people are advertising and giving people exactly what they're looking for. So we're going to reward that. The least amount of friction and the simplest, smoothest from Google search to ad click to getting on your landing page to actually making that conversion action, which would be a phone call in this situation. As seamless and as smooth as that is, Google will reward you for that. And that's when ad rank and keyword quality score come into place. So when I'm making landing pages for clients, I want to use as much wording that we're going to actually be using in the ads as possible for that reason. So that's another really big important piece to why it's crucial to have a landing page, specifically for every service. So right here, boom, what I would do is I would immediately, well, first, of course, you would want to put the URL for the landing page here. For the display path, this is just like some extra, it just looks kind of fancy. So I don't know, maybe if you want to do like oil change near you, if, because obviously here our main keywords are oil change near me, etc. So all it does is just adds a little thing at the end of the URL, not too big. But of course, these are things that I have in here from my existing Google Ads for my agency. But so for here, right, obviously this is a little long. Okay, so this is too long. Affordable oil changes. Okay, got it. But okay, what if we do this? Oil changes in 15 minutes. So you see, you want to use your landing page copy as much as you can, again, for the congruency, but here's just a couple examples of like what you could do for, your ad copy. So you can use ChatGPT, you can do competitive research. Like you can quite literally grab anything from your landing page. Again, especially if you have it built for you and someone already uses copy. So like this would be a good headline. Find a location near you would be a good headline. Okay, so something like drive-through oil changes, all these little things, right? Turn off your car, we'll handle the rest, right? Like all this little stuff can be good for description. So again, use competitors, use ChatGPT, look around on here, just kind of be creative a little bit. But like some example of this would be like, I would put cheap oil change Scottsdale. But you also want to use, oh, that was perfect. Also make sure that you're using your keywords and whatnot in your ads. So again, this is why for every like hyper specific search term we have, such as oil change near me compared to oil change in Scottsdale, is because now we want to use as many keywords as we can, really, right? So this would appeal more to someone who actually looked up oil change near me in Scottsdale. But of course, this is all good. I'm just kind of giving you examples. You can even do like call now for an appointment, right? I'm not going to go too into ad copy. I have made tons of videos on how to create high converting ad copy. So I'm not going to get too far into this. But even as you can see, like for my agency, right? Like the #1 agency for scaling your business with Google Ads, Eberhard Media Marketing, this, that, right? There's tons of stuff too. Like even if we go right here, you could say, nobody has time to sit around waiting for their car to get serviced. You could literally just do a period after that, pull in, turn off your car, and we'll handle it. I don't know if that would fit under the 90, but right, there's a lot of things you can do here to represent your business. Again, I have a lot of videos on this, so I'm just going to skip this. For images, you definitely want to make sure that you at least have something. So for here, I just have my business logo, but if you don't have any images of like people getting their car serviced, you can always use stock photos of people getting their car serviced and just have any kind of image, because that image is going to sit right here on the Google Ad. So it's always nice to just have something. Again, even if it's a stock photo, you want to make sure you put your business name in here, because that's what's going to come up right here. Business logo, of course, that's going to show up here. And then site links. So I always like to have site links. I like to have everything I can in here, because basically what that does is it just allows you to take up more digital real estate. So let's just go ahead and look up oil change Scottsdale. So see, now a lot of these people, none of them are even using no logos. This is a lot of text. They're using call out assets, extended snippets I see, but no one's really using any site links. There's something that they could be using. So here's what a Google Ad site link actually is, right? So when someone Googles something, these are the site links, okay? So all like right here, this is a perfect example. Oh, this image looks terrible, but here's some images of these actual site links. As you can see here, it's like little tiny snippets that are followed by a URL for other pieces of information and other pages on your site. So the main reason why I like to do all this stuff is because now you'll be taking up the most digital real estate. So you want to get the most out of your ads. You want to show up as much as you can. So this allows you just to take up more on the screen, which I personally love. Like this is a great example. Pizza Hut, well done. Obviously, I would assume they would have site link. I like to go ahead and just go in here. Like, let's say you're on your website. Like, let's say this is our site. Let's go to like locations. Okay, boom. Grab this URL for locations. Go in here, say locations, and then under here, just be like, find a location near you, like little stuff like that, right? So maybe use locations, use services, discounts, or employments, or content. You don't want to do employment because you don't want to attract people who are looking for a job, but things that you think people would be interested in. So location, services, discounts, and then contact. That's something I would do here. So just have a little piece of information there, have the, what it actually is, and then make sure you have the link. So if someone clicks on any of these, they'll actually be taken to that, right? As you can see here, order online, choose from a wide selection of your favorite toppings or your favorite orders online, etc. Okay. Not going to dive too into that. So these call outs here. So this is what pops up under here. So as we just looked a minute ago, so let's go to Google Ads call outs. So right here, so these are snippets that you can actually click on, but then right here these are the call outs. So it's just like adds little, like almost like smaller version of like headline, but like reinforcements. So I like to do like benefits or one-offs. Like they did a good example here of just like free shipping, 24/7 customer service, price matching, do ones like money back guaranteed, or any other ones you can think of, right? Like maybe like right here, if we were to go back to this, this person here, maybe we could just do like 15 minutes or less, providing excellence since 1940. Like, just like all these like little tiny things to just like almost like pump up your service or your company. Yeah, open 7 days a week, no appointment necessary. Those are all like little good ones that you can put there. So for me, I have book call, stand out in Arizona, all that little stuff. So that's just this. Don't need to save that. Go down to more asset types. If you have any deals, I always want to show these too. So like, let's say that you're doing $10 off a full synthetic auto change. Go ahead and put that in here. So go to promotions. So right here. So my promotion is that mine are $1,500 off. Okay, this is honestly this is a manufactured sale, but that's okay. And so as you can see, this comes up right here. So if someone's looking up your actual oil change and you have $10 off full synthetic, $5 off standard oil changes, etc. All those help people who are already looking for an oil change. Especially, this is going to help you stand out in competition. So always add promotions if you have them. Having an offer when you're doing any type of digital advertising is always extremely helpful. The calls, I always recommend you put your phone number in here. What that's going to do is it's going to allow people to call directly from the ad. So if you've ever seen, let's go ahead and look this up right here. So if you go ahead and see this, right, like when these are call only campaigns, but right here, right? So you see an ad right here and then boom, you can click call right away. So again, these are Google My Business profiles, it looks like, but what I mean is that someone can call you by clicking one button directly from the search engine result page. So if you have that in there, that can really help people just, hey, you caught our eye. This is exactly what we're looking for. Boom, call us right away. So that always helps. And then in conversion tracking, this is called call from ads. So just so you know, you can do structured snippets. We kind of talked about what those are a little bit, kind of the same thing as like these site links, these call outs. They're just like more ways to get more quick information on someone's screen, take up more digital real estate, which I'm a massive fan of. So just going down, you don't really need to worry about any of these very much. Unless you want to do any kind of UTM parameter tracking, you're more than welcome to here, but that's not something that I'm going to go into. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click next now that we have one ad and one ad group. So what that was is just in the campaign setup, Google has you make one ad group and then one ad. So just for fun, I don't even know if it's going to let me do this. Congratulations, you have now made your first Google Ads search campaign for your auto shop. But I did want to throw in a couple quick little tidbits of information to help you actually optimize this account. I know that optimizing and scaling and expanding a Google Ad account is a conversation for a million other videos because we know how elaborate that can be. But I did want to throw in a couple quick pieces of information because I didn't want to just leave you stranded. So the best things I have for you is going to be looking into your search terms. So if you click on this, obviously I'm going to be using my Google Ad account. So there's not a lot here. I'm not running them right now, but if I go to all time, this is going to show me what people are actually looking up and what keyword and what campaign, what ad group is actually, being triggered by this. So, and also the match type, right? So for instance, okay, iZone Media 360, that's not my company. And it's still showing up for several impressions. 13 clicks were wasted on that. $15 was spent on someone looking for a different company and they found mine. And I wasn't particularly running a competitor campaign. So none of my copy, none of my landing page material was, or any of my keywords even were set up to actually even convert one of these people. So not money we need to spend. So what you can go ahead and do here is you can go ahead and click on it right here, go to a negative keyword. And then if you want to add it to your campaign or your ad group, depending on, right, for the ad group, we have multiple different services, but the campaign is a campaign as a whole. So for me, since I don't want it at all, I'm going to make it a campaign as a whole because if I was going to do a competitor campaign, it would be its own campaign. So I will do campaign and I'll remove this. And because of these brackets, this makes this a exact search term. This makes this an exact match type. So then if anyone types in this exactly, then my ads won't be showing up. But on top of this, okay, you want to make sure that you're monitoring these on a regular basis, because this is where a lot of spend can get wasted really quickly. This is why that I did not show you guys any type of broad keywords, because as you can see, I run a company called Eberhard Media Marketing Agency. Someone typed in iZone Media 360 and broad match came up, right, for my company. Same thing with advertising, digital marketing executive, Google Ads settings. Okay, Google Ads settings came up. Okay, so again, I want to show you how important this is in terms of keeping spend. And then the next thing I have for you is also related to keywords. I recommend that you right off the bat, you go to your search keywords, you go to your negative keywords. So I want you to make a list right away of some things that you know that people are going to be finding you and it's going to be irrelevant. These are not the type of buyers that you want. So for anything local service or blue collar, I'm going to give you some suggestions that I use for my clients, just because I see it all across the board. So when I make a new Google Ad account for anyone in your semi-related industry, I start with these broad keywords right away to make sure we're not getting anything. Okay, so cost. We don't want people looking up, okay, how much does an air filter cost for my Jaguar? We don't want that, okay? We don't want researchers. We don't want DIYers. We don't want free people. We don't want review people. We want buyers, okay? So immediately remove cost, DIY, how to, free, what is, right? So people are looking like, what is an oil change filter? And you have oil change, in your phrase, this might pull people up. So I remove anything like this. Again, this is just kind of like a quick little start. Depending if you sell parts, which I know, most of you guys won't be, but a lot of people will be typing in Home Depot, right? A little stuff like that. So as you watch your search terms, you can make negatives as you go, but I recommend that you at least start with a couple of these. Or for instance, if you're an auto shop and you don't do any like upholstery or electrical or detailing work, make sure you put that in there too. So like collision, no, don't need that. Upholstery, I don't even think I spelled that right. I did not spell that right, but continuing on, right? Electric, like stuff like that. So you make sure that you're setting these up to make sure that you're not getting any unrelated searches. So people that are coming to you are just buyers. And you set these as broad because we don't want anyone looking up any of this kind of stuff and finding, our services are wasting our ad spend. So you can put these at a campaign level or an ad group, but honestly, I would put them as a campaign. Or if you want to go into your admin and you want to go to account settings, you can actually put them as a count level. But if you do that, just make sure that you are watching that carefully, because if you go to start, let's say that you guys branch out and have an electrical unit at your shop and you're like, why are the ads not working? It could be that you set your, negative keywords at an account level. So just be careful with that. But anyways, guys, I hope I was able to give you guys tons of value. If you're like, Johnny, you blew my mind. This was so awesome, but we still can't get ads to work for us. Well, I have a link for you in the description below, because I would love to give you guys a free Google Ads audit, hold nothing back, and show you exactly. I want to show you guys how you can dominate just like I do for all my clients. And if you're like, Johnny, you know what? Forget it, man. This is way too much information. You're obviously the expert and you want me to run your Google Ads for you. Well, I also have a link down below in the description for you. If you're like, Johnny, I like this industry, but I also like 2 other industries, and they happen to be health and wellness and beauty e-commerce. Well, I have 2 free PDF guide courses in the description that you can download for free on my website that I have made for you. So again, that's all I have for you. If you have any comments, please let me know down below. And I hope I was able to provide you tons of value, and I will see you guys in the next video.